Have you ever walked away from a conversation with a woman thinking, "What did I do wrong?" You smiled, you listened, you even cracked a joke or two, but something just didn't click. If that sounds like you, stay right here. Because in this video, I'll reveal 7 proven conversation tips, backed by the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius himself, that can win her heart, not just her attention. But before we dive in, hit the subscribe button and like this video. It helps more men discover the truth about love, connection, and confidence through ancient Stoic wisdom. And most importantly, watch this video till the very end, because the final tip can change the entire way you approach women in relationships forever. It was a quiet cafe in Rome, year 165 AD. A young man, a Roman centurion named Lucius, sat across from a woman he admired deeply, Claudia, the daughter of a respected senator. She was elegant, intelligent, but guarded. Lucius had everything on paper: a chiseled jaw, a sharp mind, a well-earned military reputation. Yet as they sat together sipping warm wine, he stumbled over his words. He talked too much about himself, tried too hard to impress, and ignored the subtle cues Claudia was giving him. After their third meeting, she never returned his messages. Heartbroken, Lucius turned to an older man he respected, the emperor himself, Marcus Aurelius. Marcus didn't offer cheesy pickup lines. Instead, he gave Lucius principles, reflections born from battles, betrayals, and introspection. And what he shared became the 7 conversation tips you're about to learn. Proven then, and even more powerful now. 1. Speak little, listen much. Have you ever been on a date where you talked so much, only to walk away wondering if she ever really connected with you? Or worse, have you ever tried to impress a girl with your best stories, your achievements, your clever jokes, only to see her eyes slowly drift away? Now pause for a second, close your eyes, think back to your first crush, that moment when she smiled at you in class, when your heart beat just a little faster, when you imagined the perfect conversation that would bring you two together. Now ask yourself, in that dream, were you doing all the talking? Or were you listening to her laugh, watching her eyes light up as she shared her world with you? You see, one of the most powerful things Marcus Aurelius ever taught, something that applies not just to emperors and soldiers, but to you right now, is this: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That means in conversation, your power doesn't come from controlling her reactions or saying all the right things. It comes from controlling your attention. And when you give her your full attention, truly listen, you win her heart without even trying. Let me take you into a story. A man named Cassius, he could be you, me, anyone, once fell deeply for a woman named Julia. She was vibrant, mysterious, and a little guarded. He wanted her attention so badly that he talked endlessly. Stories about his work, his friends, his plans. He thought the more she knew about him, the more she'd like him. But Julia smiled politely, excused herself early, and never returned his calls. Heartbroken, Cassius turned to an old friend, a Stoic monk who had studied Marcus Aurelius deeply. The monk asked Cassius one question: "When did you make her feel heard?" Silence. Cassius couldn't answer, because he never did. The next time Cassius met someone he liked, he did something different. He didn't try to be interesting. He became interested. He leaned in and asked, "What's something you've always loved but never talk about?" She smiled. He asked, "What moment in your life made you who you are today?" She opened up, and by the end of that evening, Cassius barely spoke more than a few hundred words. But she texted him first the next day. Here's why. Women remember how you make them feel. And listening, genuine, soul-level listening, is one of the rarest and most attractive traits a man can have. So right now, I want you to reflect. When was the last time you truly listened to a woman without trying to impress her? When was the last time someone listened to you that way? You see, this isn't just conversation advice. This is the key to intimacy. This is the art of connection. And if you're still here watching, let me ask you something. What's the one thing you wish someone understood about you in your past relationship? Write it down. Remember how that felt. Now imagine being the man who gives that feeling to someone else. That is how you win her heart. Not by speaking loudly, but by listening deeply. Don't assume. Have you ever thought you knew what someone was feeling, only to realize later you were completely wrong? Maybe it was a girl you liked. You assumed she wanted space, so you stopped texting. You assumed she wasn't into you, so you backed off. But months later, you found out she was just waiting for you to take the lead. Yeah, we've all been there. Now let me take you back to a moment in your life. Think of that one girl, the one who had that mysterious spark. Maybe it was her smile, maybe the way she looked at the world. You liked her. You wanted to know her. But instead of asking her what made her her, you filled in the blanks with what you thought she was. And just like that, the connection fizzled. Here's where Marcus Aurelius enters the picture. He once said, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change." It's a Stoic truth. Wisdom begins when we let go of assumptions. And in love, asking, instead of assuming, is the bridge between shallow talk and soul-level connection. Let's go back to our friend Cassius. This story might feel familiar. Cassius was talking to a woman named Celine. She was passionate about art, nature, and Eastern philosophy. But Cassius, thinking he already figured her out, started assuming, "Oh, you must be a Pisces. I bet you're super into astrology and meditation, right? I can tell you're emotional, that's your vibe." Celine smiled politely but slowly withdrew. Why? Because no one likes to be stuffed into a box. No one wants to feel known before they've had a chance to be known. Cassius went home that night feeling confused, until he remembered what the Stoic monk had told him. When you assume, you talk to your own imagination. But when you ask, you meet the real person. So the next time he met someone new, he asked instead of assuming. He asked, "What's a belief you have that most people misunderstand? When you're alone, what thoughts do you find yourself returning to? What kind of love makes you feel safest?" And something magical happened. She leaned in. She started sharing not just information, but emotion. Cassius had unlocked something few men ever do, her inner world. Now pause the story. Think about your own love life. When was the last time you asked questions that went deeper than small talk? When was the last time you made a woman feel like you saw her? Not just what she posts on Instagram. Assumptions are easy. Questions are bold. And the right questions, they melt walls. Because deep down, every woman wants the same thing you want. To be seen, to be heard, to be understood without being judged. So the next time you're talking to someone you care about, stop assuming you know her story. Instead, invite her to tell it. That is how you make her feel truly special. And that's how you move from conversation to connection. Be present, not predictable. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone you really liked? And while they were talking, your mind was racing with thoughts like, what do I say next? Did I sound cool just now? Am I messing this up? If yes, you're not alone. In fact, that mental noise, it's the #1 killer of connection. Now take a second. Close your eyes. Remember the last time someone looked you in the eyes, listened without distractions, and made you feel like you were the only person in the room. How rare was that? How good did it feel? That's the power of presence. And it's exactly what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, "Confine yourself to the present." Let me take you back to Cassius, our Roman friend, whose love story might sound eerily familiar. Cassius had landed a walk with Helena, a woman who captivated him completely. The sun was setting behind the temples. The air smelled like olives and dust, and his heart was pounding. This was his chance. But instead of soaking in her words, her smile, her energy, Cassius was stuck in his head, rehearsing what to say next, thinking, did that joke land? Should I tell her about my promotion? Should I compliment her dress again? She noticed. Her excitement faded. Her voice slowed down. She cut the walk short. Cassius walked home that evening, kicking himself. And when he visited the Stoic monk the next morning, he asked, "Why do I always mess up when it matters most?" The monk smiled and said, "Because you're not with her. You're with your thoughts." And that's the mistake so many men make. We think we need to be clever, smooth, predictable. But the truth? She doesn't want your rehearsed lines. She wants you, here now, real. When you're present, you notice things other men miss. The sparkle in her eye when she talks about her childhood dog. The slight tremble in her voice when she mentions her dreams. The way she tucks her hair behind her ear when she's nervous. Those little things, they're huge, because they say, I see you. I'm with you. Right now, think about your own love story. Has there ever been a moment where you felt truly seen by someone? Not because they said the perfect thing, but because they were fully there with you? That's presence, and that's what women remember. Not what you said, but how you made them feel. Not the joke you told, but that you laughed with them, not at them. So the next time you're with someone you care about, Put your phone away. Let go of the outcome. Stop trying to predict the right thing to say, and instead breathe, listen, respond. Because being fully present in a world full of distractions, that's not just attractive, that's rare. And rare is unforgettable. 4. Compliment her soul, not just her body. When was the last time you received a compliment that touched your heart, not your ego? Now flip the question. When was the last time you gave a compliment that made a woman pause, breathe deeper, maybe even tear up a little? If you can't remember, don't worry. Most men can't, because we live in a world where women hear the same surface-level compliments over and over again. You're hot. You have beautiful eyes. Damn, you're sexy. It's predictable. It's easy. And most of the time, it's forgettable. But what if I told you that the right compliment, one that speaks to who she really is, can open a woman's heart in ways you've never imagined? Marcus Aurelius once said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself in your way of thinking." And when you shift the way you think about compliments, from body to soul, you unlock something sacred. Let's step back into our story. Cassius, after learning from his mistakes, met a woman named Livia. She was kind, clever, and had a sense of quiet strength in her. On their second meeting, Livia looked radiant, dressed in a flowing gown, hair perfectly set. Most men would have gone for the obvious, but Cassius didn't say, "You look hot," or "That dress is amazing." He looked at her, paused, and said, "You carry peace like it's your second skin. Being around you makes the world feel softer." Livia froze, then smiled, not the polite kind, but the kind that reaches the eyes. In that moment, Cassius didn't just notice her beauty. He noticed her essence, and she felt it. That's what makes a compliment unforgettable. It reflects what's true and deep in her. Let me bring it to your story now. Think about someone you've loved deeply. Was it really her looks that drew you in? Or was it the way she cared for a stray cat? The way she danced barefoot in the kitchen? The way she looked at you when you were feeling small? Now imagine you had told her that. How might your story have changed? Women crave being seen, not just as beautiful bodies, but as souls with stories. So the next time you're with someone you admire, skip the lazy compliment, go deeper. Instead of, "You're so cute," try, "There's something calming about your presence. Like being near you helps me breathe better. You have a warmth that makes people feel safe." That's rare. Your strength isn't loud, but it's steady. And I admire that. You don't need poetry. You just need truth, and awareness, and courage. So let me ask you, what compliment do you wish someone had given you during your last relationship? Think about it, feel it. Now become the kind of man who gives that to others. Because when you compliment her soul, you're not just speaking to her ears, you're whispering to her heart. Let silence speak. Have you ever shared a silence with someone you loved and it said more than words ever could? That quiet drive together, that pause between laughter, that moment when your eyes met, and neither of you had to speak because everything was already understood. If you've ever felt that, even once in your life, you know what I'm about to tell you is real. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, once wrote, "Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." But here's the secret most men miss. That same peace, that same retreat, you can invite her into it if you're brave enough to let silence speak. Let's return to our story, to Cassius. Cassius had been on a few dates with a woman named Aurelia. She was witty, playful, a little guarded. One night, while watching the stars from a hillside just outside the city, the conversation began to slow. Cassius panicked inside. Should he ask her about her job again? Tell a story? Crack a joke? He felt the pressure to fill the space, to say something. But this time, he didn't. Instead, he looked up at the stars, breathed in the quiet night air, and let the silence settle between them like a soft blanket. At first, it felt awkward, but then Aurelia shifted closer. She let out a slow sigh and softly said, "I don't remember the last time I felt this peaceful." That was the moment their bond deepened. Why? Because silence, when shared with the right energy, builds intimacy. It says, "I'm not here to perform for you. I'm here with you. I don't need to impress you. I just want to feel you near me." Too many men think they need to keep the conversation alive at all costs. But sometimes, the most powerful connection happens when you both feel safe enough to just be. Now let me bring this to your story. Think about someone you used to love, or maybe still do. Did you ever sit in silence with them and feel more connected than when you were talking? Was there ever a moment where the world went quiet and your hearts did all the speaking? That's not just romance. That's trust. That's presence. That's real. So the next time you're with someone you care about, don't rush to fill every gap with words. Instead, watch her face in the silence. Breathe with her. Let your energy speak. You'll be amazed what that quiet moment can say. Because when a woman feels safe in your silence, safe in your stillness, she starts to trust something deeper than your words. She begins to trust you. And trust, that's what makes her heart open. Starts to trigger her imagination with emotion, not logic. Have you ever told a woman what you thought she wanted to hear, only to watch her eyes glaze over, her smile fade, and the magic just disappear? You were trying, you were being honest, but still, something didn't land. Why? Because you were speaking to her mind, when what she needed was for you to speak to her heart. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And if you want to color a woman's soul with your presence, you don't do it with facts, figures, or logic. You do it with emotion, with stories, images, and feelings that pull her into your world. Let me bring you back to Cassius. Cassius had grown wiser in love. One evening, he walked through the garden with Lydia, a painter with stars in her eyes and fire in her laugh. As they sat beneath the fig trees, Lydia asked him a simple question. "What's your dream life?" Cassius could have replied with logic, a step-by-step plan. Instead, he chose imagination. He looked up and smiled. "My dream life? We'd wake up in a small cottage on a cliff. The ocean would be our alarm clock. You'd be barefoot in the kitchen painting sunflowers on the wall, and I'd be trying to cook badly. There'd be laughter, always laughter. And every night we'd watch the stars, wondering how the hell we got so lucky." Lydia didn't respond right away. She just stared at him, like she was already living in that moment, like his words had lifted her out of that garden and into a life she didn't even know she craved. That's the power of imagination. That's the secret of emotional storytelling. Now pause and reflect on your own story. Think of a woman you once loved. Did you ever share a moment where she said, "Tell me what you're thinking"? And instead of opening your emotional world, you gave her a cold summary? You talked about work, bills, goals, but not about what moves you, not about what scares you, not about the pictures in your soul. And that's what she was looking for. Because women don't fall for logic. They fall for emotionally colored vision, for stories that invite them into your dreams. So next time you're with someone special, speak in colors. Don't say, "I want a family." Say, "I dream of teaching our kids how to ride bikes while you laugh from the porch." Don't say, "I like quiet nights." Say, "I want to fall asleep next to someone who makes silence feel like music." Make her feel your world, not just hear it. Because when she can imagine herself inside your story, that's when she starts writing you into hers. The final tip will tie everything together: how to leave a lasting impression that keeps her thinking about you, even when you're gone. Don't miss it. 7. Leave her with a feeling, not just a memory. Have you ever thought about someone, not because of what they said, but because of how they made you feel? You can't remember the exact words. You don't recall every detail of the conversation. But somehow, something lingers, a warmth, a spark, a feeling that won't go away. That's what love really is. Not logic, not perfection, but emotional residue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What we do now echoes in eternity." And in the world of love and attraction, what you leave behind echoes louder than anything you say in the moment. Let me take you back one last time to Cassius. By now you know he'd changed. He'd learned presence. He'd stopped rehearsing lines. He started feeling rather than thinking his way through love. One evening, he and Lydia sat under an olive tree as the wind whispered through the leaves. They'd shared stories, laughed, fallen into silence. And then just before she left, Cassius turned to her and said, "You make the world feel less heavy. I hope wherever you go next, you carry that light with you." It wasn't flashy. It wasn't seductive, but it was felt deeply. Weeks later, Lydia wrote him a letter. "I've thought of your words every day since. Not because they were clever, but because they made me feel seen in a way I haven't felt in years." And that, my friend, is how you win a heart. Not with perfect timing or polished words, but by leaving her with something felt. Let me ask you something now. Think back to your own love story. Who is that one person you still think about? Even after all this time? Was it the way they looked at you? The way they held your hand? The way they whispered, "I believe in you," when no one else did? Whatever it wasn't just a memory. It was a feeling. And that's your key to lasting attraction. So how do you do it? When you say goodbye, mean it. When you compliment her, feel it. When you share something vulnerable, own it. Be present, be human, and leave her with the taste of something real, not just words. Because long after she forgets your name, long after she can't recall your job, your car, your jokes, she will remember how you made her feel when you looked at her like she mattered. That's how love lasts. That's how you win her heart, not just today, but for a lifetime. Now think, what kind of feeling do you want to leave behind? Because the truth is, every conversation, every glance, every goodbye, it's a brushstroke on the canvas of her memory. Paint it with presence, color it with emotion, leave it with warmth, and she'll never forget you. Back to the story. Did Lucius win her heart? After practicing Marcus's principles, Lucius met Claudia again. This time he didn't try to impress her. He asked questions. He listened. He responded with warmth and presence. Claudia leaned in. She smiled more. She shared stories she'd never told before. Weeks later, they became inseparable. Not because Lucius was perfect, but because he made her feel perfectly seen. Modern application, your turn. You don't need to be a Roman soldier to make this work. You just need to remember. 1. Listen more than you speak. 2. Ask, don't assume. 3. Be fully present. 4. Compliment her essence. 5. Be calm, clear, and kind. 6. Share your philosophy. 7. Seek to understand, not conquer. These aren't tactics, they're transformations. And they don't just win hearts. They build real, lasting love. Final thought. What would Marcus say to you? If Marcus Aurelius sat across from you right now, and you told him, "I don't know how to talk to women," he wouldn't laugh. He wouldn't judge. He'd probably smile, hand you his journal, and say, "Start here. Know yourself, be real, and speak with intention." Because at the end of the day, winning her heart isn't about charm. It's about character. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.